Chai coffee most of my bhai. Okay, so I'd like to start off with, I want to thank Uncle Sattar, who's not here, but he has done a lot for SYNA. He kind of planned the tour by himself. He called me and he's like, oh, you guys should do this and this and this and this. And I was like, okay. So he's been really great for the youth. He really wanted to make sure that the youth had the best time. I think he thought about us first, and then he thought about what you guys would like, and that's the way it should be every year. So he set a new standard, so now you guys have to meet it, wherever it is next year. I'd also like to thank Auntie Sadat for accompanying us on our tour yesterday, because the rest of you were here having fun with your friends, and she was with us, with all the kids. She was babysitting grown kids, so thank you. Second of all, I want to introduce our planning committee for this year, the people who worked really hard. Keep in mind, everyone had jobs and school, and we lived in different cities, so we would, figure out time. We'd meet on Google Hangouts, we'd talk on the phone, we kept in touch. So over here we have Maheen Shaikh, and we have Hassan Turk, Shaikh. Over there at the laptop, we have Manur Aga. And I'm not sure if she's here right now, but also from Troy, Michigan, we had Barisa Mema. And she was very, very helpful. Our seminar today is kind of on how we see SYNA, how we see it presently, how we view the future of SYNA from our eyes. Maybe you won't like some of what we say, maybe you'll love it, but it's all the truth. And I think, that's what you guys are here to listen to. And before I leave, I just want to say, do not interrupt people and say, Sindhi me galayo, because everyone may not know Sindhi, and if you really want to go get someone, go get their parents, okay? It's not their fault. So don't, like Maheen's dad, Walid Shaikh is right there. Hassan's dad, Ijaz Turk, is right there. Sunit's dad ran away because he knew what was going to happen. But Auntie Sadat is right there. So those are the people you need to go after, okay? Not these people.
And what about your parents?
Mukhe Sindhi ache thi. जी
सवाल और जवाब जो सेशन पे आए हैं ना
हाँ आए ताके वो नींदा सुनाई ओके पेरी शुरू ता करूं अंको एजाज बियो प्लीज बियो केरो एजाज है तांजो पासे में ओके लास्ट ईयर मु सेमिनार में तांका को सवाल पूछो ताके याद है मुझे कि हिन कमरे में सबन का सोनी माई केर है याद था ताके चयो कहाँ चाचा निसार जी जाल चाहिए अंकल निसार किथे अख में ॾिसी चयो कि तव्हां चयो हो
निसार किथे अबा तुंहिंजी ज़ाल अधी शमा अधी सुणी अधी ने ज़ोर तो ॾियां मतलब शक कयो
अच्छा हाणे अॼु ताका सवाल थी पुछां तव्हांजे फैमिली जे अलावा these young people जे अलावा सभिनि खां सुहिणो भाई केरु आहे अंकल मॉडल करे पियो कान
अल्ताफ भाई
मुंहिंजो भाई हुनमें कहिड़ियूं क्वालिटीज़ आहिनि जो तव्हांखे थियूं हसीन थियूं
वो अल्ताफ भाई सां मिलनि थियूं
हाणे ॿई हाफ़िज़ भाउ तव्हांखे ॿार पकड़ंदा हिकिड़ी जी ज़ाल लाइ चयो हिकिड़े लाइ पाणे चयो Okay, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna introduce Maheen Shaikh. She's gonna come make a speech. Her very proud father's right here, so please give her a round of applause.
Hello everyone, my name is Maheen Shaikh, as I said earlier, and I have a cough. But I'm gonna start off my speech with this acronym called ABCD. And I don't know if all the adults in the room have heard it, but I'm sure the youth have heard it at least once or twice in their lives. And it stands for American Born Confused Desi, which kind of means you're too desi for your American friends, and you're too American for your Desi friends. So for me, it sort of creates a sense of unbelonging wherever I go. And I'm sure even if you're not an ABCD, you can understand not belonging to a certain group the way everyone else does. So for me, SYNA is sort of a ABCD place because I'm not fully Sindhi, my mom isn't Sindhi, and I don't speak Sindhi, I didn't grow up around a lot of Sindhi people. So it's kind of coming here and not knowing everything. You know, there's a lot of jokes I don't get, the language I barely understand. So it creates something a little bit scary to come every year. But at home, growing up, I didn't have a lot of Pakistani friends. We did have a community, but it wasn't like they were my closest friends I hung out with. And I barely knew maybe 1 or 2 Sindhi families growing up. So this all might sound like excuses as to why I don't speak Sindhi. It might sound like excuses as to why I didn't get involved in the beginning. But it actually ends up being something that makes me appreciate coming here a lot more than maybe other people do. Since you're around it a lot more, this is my only time to experience my Sindhi culture. So, before the last few years, I used to come to SYNA, and I would come with my brother and my sister and my mom and my dad, and we would sort of sit around the sidelines. I would hang out with my siblings and watch, you know, the youth do their thing, and I would run off with my family, maybe hang out with Hassan a few times here and there. But that was who I knew. And my only experience with SYNA was in San Francisco. Me, Marvi Turk, and my sister walked into the youth room, and they were all playing Heads Up or something. And we stood there for a minute, we're like, okay, we don't know anyone, and we left. And that was it. That was my whole SYNA experience. Yeah, I know, you're so proud of me and Marvi, aren't you? But before the Houston convention, I sort of decided I was gonna take a leap of faith and join the planning committee, which I don't know what compelled me to do that. One day I was like, it sounds like a great idea. So I decided to join. And so we did Google Hangouts where you all get on and sort of like a Skype sort of thing with everyone who's planning. And for the Houston convention, we had at least 20 people, like 15 would show up to the Google Hangouts. So there was a lot of inside jokes I didn't get, a lot of Sindhi jokes I didn't get. There was a lot of me sitting around being like, okay, and giving my opinion on things I had no idea. They're like, Maheen, what do you think? I was like, I don't know, but sure, that sounds great. So after the first few initial Google Hangouts of people being like, okay, who is this girl? Like, we don't know her. I started to, you know, get involved. I tried making a pen pal program, and anyone who heard about the pen pal program knows how that went, but I'm bringing it back, it'll come back. But, so I started to make friends, and now, I'm here, I love it. I have my best friends here. Like Salaha and I'll call her at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we will talk all night on FaceTime, but I'm not joking, we will talk for hours.
Unwillingly.
I call her to talk to her about my life. She calls me to have me do her physics homework.
Yes.
So I called Becky to vent about life. Like, I just met Manur, but I'm sure I'll do the same to her. And we're all best friends, and I think that's something that I've come to love about SYNA. It's, you know, I love the food, the dancing, but it's the community that I love the most. It's, you know, I have my best friends here now. I don't know much about the past of SYNA. I haven't been around and involved that long, but I can tell you the present, it's probably the best decision I've made in a long time. So I can only hope the future stays like this, and thank you. And the next speaker we have is Hassan Turk.
Woo, woo.
Hello, my name is Hassan Turk, and so today what I am going to be talking about is why specifically I decided to join the SYNA committee today, because in the previous, Becky and Maheen, a little bit of forcing and back. But personally why I decided to join today and why I was not involved in the previous years. And so on the personal spectrum, first off, geographically I'm located in Kalamazoo. And as you know, there's not a huge Sindhi population in Kalamazoo, it's just Sonu and I. Whereas, and we own that Sindhi population in Kalamazoo, everybody knows us for that. So, whereas if you look at communities like Dallas and Houston and St. Louis, there's a bunch of Sindhi youth. And so they form that sense of community very early, that community sense that Maheen was talking about. And so it's a lot more exciting to go to SYNA when you're a youth and you know all your friends from your city are going. So the question at hand is, how can we combat that when you're from a city where there's not too many Sindhi youth, and so you're not as excited? Is you kind of force your children to come to SYNA as a youth, and that's the way they can make friends very early on. So ideally that's the goal, is to bring all your children to SYNA very early on.
Hey!
And the second thing I want to talk about is more on the political spectrum, and that's culture. And so as Sindhi youth, we're all born in a Sindhi household, right? And so very early on, you get to own your Sindhi identity. And personally, I did as well. I spoke Sindhi very well as a youth, but then as you grow up and you're introduced to American culture, you're kind of forced to assimilate, and your identity changes. Because when you're growing up in America and you have all your American white friends, you lose touch subconsciously of your Sindhi culture. You begin to lose value. And so when you're going back to your Sindhi homes, there's nothing to reinforce the value of your culture. And that's ultimately what it comes down to, is when you want to hold on to your Sindhi roots and heritage, it's a reinforcement of that. And so there's no incentive to that as you're growing up. Now, personally for me, as I began to get older, I began to challenge my perspective on what it really meant to be a Sindhi youth and what it means to be a Sindhi culture. And so, as I began to challenge this, I began to value my roots as a Sindhi person a lot more, and I took more of an interest in Sindh and what it means to be Sindhi. And that's largely what our Sindhi identity is asking us, is what does it mean to be a Sindhi youth growing up in America? And so I encourage you all to ask your kids, what does it mean for you to be a Sindhi youth in America? Because, as I said, there's nothing to reinforce this perspective and reinforce this identity growing up. And so as I began to challenge my Sindhi culture, growing up in a Sindhi household, but then forcing to assimilate to American culture, I took more of an interest in SYNA and being involved in SYNA, because ultimately we are the future. And so hopefully we can continue to expand SYNA throughout North America in the future generations and get more youth involvement. And up next, I'm going to talk, Becky and Sonu are going to come up.